Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a topic that hits literally every single one of us, every single day: consumer protection and your rights in the market. Whether you're grabbing a quick cup of coffee, doom scrolling and shopping online, or dealing with massive service providers, knowing the rules of the game is absolutely crucial. We're going to explore the framework designed to keep you safe and make sure you get exactly what you pay for. Let's get right into the nuts and bolts of how the law actually empowers you. Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever stood there in front of an ATM, punched in your PIN, confidently requested your money, only to get that absolutely infuriating cash not available message? Right? It feels like just bad luck, or maybe a minor annoyance we just have to live with. Well, hold on to your hats, because that might actually be a direct violation of your consumer rights. No joke. Check out this fascinating 2017 case. The Rapport Consumer Forum dealt with this exact scenario. A customer actually submitted photos and video proof of 3 failed ATM transactions simply because the machine was empty. Now, the bank tried to argue, hey, the ATM runs on the internet, so the user wasn't technically our client at that exact second. I mean, come on. The forum completely rejected that logic. They ruled that failing to provide cash is literally a legal deficiency in service. The bank was slapped with a 2,500 rupee fine, which included compensation for mental harassment and legal fees. How amazing is that? To understand how you can wield this kind of power yourself, here's our roadmap for today. We're looking at 1. Market shift. 2. Why it matters. 3. The 2019 Act. 4. Your toolkit. And finally, 5. Seeking redressal. Let's start with Section 1, Market shift, the rise of consumer power. Because, the power dynamic between buyers and sellers, it hasn't always been the way it is today. Historically, the golden rule of the market was caveat emptor, which is Latin for let the buyer beware. Basically, if you bought a bad, unsafe, or just totally defective product, well, that was on you. You shouldered all the risk. But as markets evolved and competition got fierce, things shifted. We moved to a market governed by caveat venditor, let the seller beware. This brilliantly illustrates how today the consumer is really the king of the free market. You're not on your own anymore. The burden of fairness and safety has officially shifted over to the businesses. Which brings us to Section 2, Why it matters, the business perspective. You might think these laws only act as a shield for us buyers, but honestly, they're a vital framework for the businesses themselves. Enlightened businesses totally get that consumer protection is essential for their own survival. First off, it serves their long-term interest. Happy customers come back, right? Repeat sales and positive word of mouth lead to long-term profit. Second, businesses are using society's resources to operate, so they have this inherent duty to supply products that actually serve the public interest and don't damage public trust. And third, it simply fulfills their corporate social responsibility. Consumers are a massive stakeholder group, and a business literally cannot afford to ignore them if they want to stick around. Moving right along to Section 3, the 2019 Act, decoding the legalese. To officially cement all these protections, the government of India rolled out the Consumer Protection Act of 2019. It totally revamped the older 1986 version, widening the net to cover modern concerns, meaning it applies to all types of businesses now, including those giant e-commerce firms we all use constantly. But to really use this act, we need to speak its language. Under the law, a defect is any fault, imperfection, or shortcoming in the quality or nature of physical goods. So if you drop cash on a brand new smartphone and the screen is glitching right out of the box, or your groceries are adulterated with inferior stuff, you are dealing with a legally recognized defect. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how the law treats services versus physical goods. A deficiency is a fault or shortcoming in the quality of a service. This includes negligence or even withholding relevant information that causes you a loss. Remember our ATM example from earlier? The bank didn't hand over a defective physical product. They provided a deficient service. It's a subtle but absolutely crucial distinction when you're figuring out your rights. And then there's a restrictive trade practice. This happens when a business manipulates prices or chokes the flow of supplies just to impose unjustified costs on you. Think hoarding essential goods to artificially jack up prices, or black marketing. The law is explicitly designed to protect you against that kind of widespread market manipulation. Okay, Section 4, your toolkit, rights and responsibilities. The law gives you a ton of power, but you've got to know how to wield it. And, well, you have some duties of your own to uphold to stay protected. As you'll see in public awareness campaigns, you have undeniable rights, like the right to be informed. You deserve the full rundown on what you're buying. ingredients, manufacturing dates, directions, prices, the whole shebang. You also have the right to be assured. That means you have the freedom to access a variety of products at competitive prices, so you're never just cornered into buying from a single monopoly.
Let's move to and see how this builds into your actual personal responsibilities. Rights are fantastic, but the law makes it crystal clear. You have to do your part. You've got to read those labels carefully. You need to assert yourself for a fair deal. Always be honest, buy legal goods, and please, always ask for a cash memo. That receipt is your absolute vital proof of purchase. And finally, if there is a shortcoming, you have a responsibility to actually file a complaint. Don't just let it slide because the amount feels too small.
Which brings us perfectly to our final section, Part 5, Seeking Redressal, Getting Justice. What actually happens when you do everything right, the business messes up, and you take them to task through the proper channels? So the crucial point is that consumer courts can grant you very specific, tangible relief. Prove your case, and the seller can be ordered to completely fix the defect or deficiency. Or they might have to just replace the item with a brand new product. They could be ordered to refund every penny you paid. And perhaps most powerfully, they can be forced to pay reasonable compensation for any loss, injury, or sheer hassle you went through because of them. Let's look at how this plays out in the real world. Take Mrs. Mathur. She drops off a 4,500 rupee jacket at the dry cleaner, she picks it up, and bam, white discoloration marks all over it. The cleaner sends a letter admitting it happened on their watch, but then totally ignores her requests for compensation. But Mrs. Mathur, she was an informed consumer. She did her part, and she didn't just accept the loss. She took it to the consumer court. The court stepped in, and the dry cleaner was legally ordered to pay her 2,500 rupees in compensation. Justice served, all because she knew her rights. We've covered the massive shift in market power, decoded what actually counts as a defect or deficiency, unpacked your personal toolkit, and seen real-world justice in action. It's a huge, powerful framework built entirely for you. But remember, the system literally only works if you actively engage with it. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Armed with everything from today's explainer, are you ready to get out there and boldly assert your rights as a smart, empowered consumer? Thanks for joining me, and stay curious.